This is massive, no exaggeration. A confidential Australian government document just leaked, and it's blowing up across Australia's media landscape.
Well, governments don't release the incoming government brief. It's been released in error, and that's, these things happen from time to time.
Turns out a secret Treasury report meant only for internal government eyes has now hit Australia's headlines. And trust me, it's packed with bombshell revelations. The leaked document clearly indicates that the government is quietly gearing up for major tax increases, hitting virtually every Australian household. They're not only planning to expand the existing tax base, but also preparing to raise tax rates and even roll out completely new forms of taxes we've never seen before. If you're already fed up with Australia's sky-high living costs, tax burdens, and real wages that haven't moved in years, well, buckle up because things are about to get even worse. But wait, there's more. Australia is simultaneously heading straight into a severe housing crisis. All those government promises about boosting housing supply, reassuring people that eventually everyone would own a home if they just held tight. Well, guess what? According to the leak, those assurances were empty from the start. Anyone with hopes is about to face an awakening. So how exactly did something this sensitive end up exposed to the public? What does it reveal about the direction Australia's tax policies might take from here? And perhaps most importantly, how will this reshape our housing market, affecting each and every Australian family? In today's episode, we're breaking down every detail of this leak. If you currently call Australia home, or if you're even thinking about moving here, you absolutely can't afford to miss what we're about to reveal. Hi, I'm Alex. I hold master's degrees in accounting and business administration. When I worked as an accountant and then a GM of a listed real estate company, I began my property investment journey. Then I started my own company, helping hundreds of people invest in the property market to achieve financial freedom and retire early. You're watching Oz Property Strategy, where I share information about real estate investment, economic trends, and wealth creation. If you like this video, smash the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell to watch new weekly videos. Without further ado, let's get into it. This all began on 14th of July. As part of a routine media practice, ABC News submitted a request to the Australian government to release official documents. This is what we call an FOI, short for Freedom of Information. In Australia, this right exists to ensure transparency and accountability. It gives the public the legal right to access government records, except those that are classified or deemed confidential. But this time, someone in the Treasury made a serious mistake. Due to negligence or simply being careless, they accidentally included confidential documents in the batch sent to ABC News. And once ABC laid eyes on what they had received, they knew this was big, huge, the kind of explosive content that no news outlet in the world would ignore. ABC quickly published the findings. The Treasury rushed in and immediately requested the information be taken down, but ABC refused, because under Australian law, the media has every right to publish this. This is something unimaginable in countries like China. Within less than an hour of publication, major news outlets across the country picked it up. And just like that, a national firestorm erupted, centered around two hot-button issues: housing and tax reform. I've read through the leaked documents and all the related media coverage and expert analysis. Here are the most important takeaways. First, the core of this issue is this: Australia's federal budget is in the red, year after year. A lot of the money is being spent on areas that don't generate economic returns. We're borrowing more, taxing more, and yet the whole thing is starting to look unsustainable. In its internal report, the Treasury outlined 3 ways to make the federal budget healthier and more sustainable over the long term. Option 1, grow the economy, but that's not working. The first path is grow the economy, because with a bigger economy pie, you naturally collect more tax revenue. But here's the harsh truth. Right now, Australia's economy is barely growing. GDP inches upward each year, slower than the rate of inflation. If it weren't for the waves of immigrants bringing capital into the country, Australia might already be in a recession. GDP per capita, it's been negative for 2 years straight. Sure, wages on paper have gone up, but purchasing power, it's gone backwards. We're living like it's 10 years ago. Electricity prices are sky high, insurance premiums are rising every year, and living standards keep slipping. Even worse, Australia's productivity is shockingly low. More and more people are relying on welfare, and employees are getting more rights. That's why productivity will never go up. In the report, the Treasury didn't offer a plan for how to grow the economy. It simply flagged it as an ideal but unlikely solution. Option 2, cut government spending, also not likely. The second option to repair the budget is cutting government spending, but honestly, that's even more unrealistic. Right now, the NDIS alone is set to cost over $60 billion per year. That's more than the entire education budget, and even more than defense. Labour government aren't known for cutting spending. In fact, their traditional base demands more social support, not less. Labour tends to win elections by spending programs, healthcare, education, welfare, and infrastructure. Think about it. If voters lose their subsidies, why would they keep voting for Labour? At most, they might talk about medium to long-term spending restraint, but few dare to touch current budgets, because any major cut could trigger social instability. In short, this is politically toxic, which brings us to the third and most likely option. Option 3, raise taxes, and that's the real plan. The third and final way to repair the budget is by increasing taxes, and this is where the Treasury gets very clear. The report says that raising tax revenue must be part of a broader tax reform agenda. They even outline exactly how to do it, starting with indirect taxes and superannuation taxes. Interestingly, the Treasury is open to the idea of lowering the marginal tax rate on both individuals and businesses, while finding other ways to collect more overall revenue. For example, under the current superannuation reform proposal, the government is planning to double the tax rate on earnings from balances above $3 million. But what's even more controversial is taxing unrealized capital gains. That's right, even you haven't sold your home or your stocks, if their value increases on paper, you'd still have to find the cash to pay tax on the paper profit. And beyond superannuation, Treasury is also recommending a revamp of Australia's indirect tax system. That includes increasing fuel taxes, cigarette taxes, stamp duty, land tax, and yes, even raising the goods and services tax, GST. Among the three strategies, grow the economy, cut spending, or raise taxes, it's clear which one the government is most likely to adopt. Raising taxes is the easiest to implement. And based on the leaked documents, it's now practically inevitable. The question is no longer if, but how and when. All eyes are now on the policy roundtable in August. If stamp duty, land tax, and GST all end up being adjusted, it will reshape the cost of living for every Australian. And more importantly, for us property investors, it could completely change the logic we've relied on for decades. It's time to start preparing for a very different housing and tax landscape, one that may arrive faster than anyone expected. So here comes the big question. The government wants to raise taxes, but do you really have money to pay more tax?
Can you afford to pay any more tax?
No.
I can't afford it, no.
I don't think I can, man.
No, I don't know about you watching this video, but for many Australians, the answer is no. They simply can't afford it anymore. I went down the rabbit hole and read through the comment section under the news report. It was brutal and honestly brilliant. One comment read, "Funny how none of the Labour voters are showing up in the comments this time. Maybe they're regretting their vote now." And someone replied under that, "Most of them don't pay tax anyway, so why would they care?" Another older Aussie commented, "This kind of thing has happened again and again. Every time Labour takes power, the economy goes downhill. Only the baby boomers really benefited. They got rich off skyrocketing property prices. The younger generation who voted for Labour, well, they'll be left with the mess Labour made." Now you might think tax hikes and a weak economy are already bad enough. But wait, the leaked documents revealed something even more shocking. The government officially acknowledged that one of their key election promises was never going to happen. And here's the kicker. Treasury had this written in a report just days after the election ended.
We have a plan to build 1.2 million homes by the end of the decade.
The leaked Treasury document made it clear the plan to build 1.2 million homes in 5 years is dead in the water. That bold promise, made countless times by the Prime Minister, repeated at every press conference, has officially become a joke.
And now we know the Treasury said that promise will be broken too.
The plan kicked off on July the 1st, 2024. To hit the target, Australia needs to build 240,000 new homes every year. But in the first year, only 175,000 were built, falling short by 65,000 homes. If that's how we started in year 1, imagine how far behind we'll be in the next 4. And up until the document was leaked, the government kept insisting they were on track. According to the Master Builders Association, we are short 90,000 construction workers. Building costs are through the roof. The planning system is a mess. Infrastructure can't keep up. Their forecast? By 2029, we'll fall short by 166,000 homes. And that might have been optimistic. Another government agency, the National Housing Supply and Affordability Council, released its own prediction in May, a shortfall of 300,000 homes. The Property Council? Even worse. The estimate will miss the mark by 462,000. I'm guessing a lot of people saw those numbers and still held on to hope. They probably thought the government will figure it out. The home will get built eventually. No rush. I can wait a little longer to buy it. And that kind of mindset is exactly what causes people to let their guard down. They think supply will catch up, prices will stay flat, and they'll have time to enter the market later. But I wonder, now that the truth is out, are they rethinking that? Because if this leak had never happened, a lot of folks would still be waiting for the government to magically solve everything. By the time they finally realize supply hasn't improved, prices will have already soared, making it even harder to afford anything. Some viewers dropped comments under my video saying, "Why are you so bullish on Australian property for the next 20 years? Let's just talk about facts." Property prices are determined by supply and demand. Australia's population keeps growing. Migration isn't stopping. Demand is increasing rapidly. But supply is lagging behind. That's the core reason why property prices have risen and will likely keep rising. Now, I know that you might be thinking, but if people don't have money, how can property prices go up? Sounds logical, but that's not how the real world works. Just look at the baby boomers. Their home value have doubled or tripled over the years. Plenty of them are using their equity to help their kids buy homes, then adding government grants, first-home buyer incentives, special loan programs, plus banks offering flexible finance. Suddenly, there's money in the system. And even if every Aussie couldn't afford a home, guess who's still buying? Migrants. If you're having trouble buying a home, it's easy to assume the whole country is in the same boat, but that's simply not true. Here's the cold, hard truth. Australia is deeply polarized. Over half of the population now relies on government welfare as their main source of income. So politically, the current government isn't going anywhere. If you're hoping for a full-blown economic revival, you might want to let that dream go. At this point, if you can keep what you have and stop the ATO from taking more, you are already ahead of the game. But wait, you might ask, if half the country is on welfare, who's buying houses? Well, the other half still can. Migrants still can. And house prices, they just keep rising. Some people may think this way. If more and more people need welfare to survive, aren't we turning into a socialist country? Good question, so I looked into it. Are there wealthy countries with high taxes, strong welfare, powerful unions, high quality of life, and strong economic results? Surprisingly, yes. Sweden, Norway, Denmark, Finland, and Iceland. The famous Nordic model. The Nordic system combines high taxes and high public spending with market economics. It's built on universal welfare, strong public services, high social trust, and cooperative labor relations. Nordic countries have a tax-to-GDP ratio of 44%. Australia, just 24%. Public spending, 27% of GDP in the Nordics. Australia, only 18%. Uni membership, 60% of people in the Nordics. Australia, 13%. Wages covered by uni agreements. Nordics, 85%. Australia, 61%. They also spend way more on education and healthcare. But here's the kicker. In the Nordics, people trust the government. They believe public officials won't create harmful laws just to line their own pockets. Australia? Yeah, we don't have that kind of faith. If Australia really wanted to follow the Nordic model, here's what we'd need. Double our current tax rate, increase public spending by 60%, introduce universal unemployment insurance so that working earns $100 while not working still gets you $80. We'd also need to completely eliminate the lazy Aussie mindset. In my opinion, that's never going to happen. Another huge hurdle, trust in the government. When a prime minister buys a house, then upgrades the public roads straight to his front door, what does that tell you? Australia wants to fix its problems by raising taxes, handing out more welfare, and squeezing the middle class, but it can't actually increase productivity or economic output. If you ask me, getting out of this mess won't be easy. If you're living in Australia right now, all you can do is figure out how to swim through this muddy water, how to earn more, how to protect your wealth, how to build a better life. And honestly, for everyday Aussies looking to break through, property might be the last real shot we've got. If you're curious why I think property is the most reliable way to grow wealth in Australia, drop a comment below. If there's enough interest, I'll make another video just on that topic. Though I'll bet if you've been watching this channel for a while, you already know the answer. If you've made it this far, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe and share this with your friends, turn on the notification bell to watch new weekly videos, and have a good one. Bye!